Hello and welcome to another episode of the Trans 101. Today we are talking about medical transition. And what is that? Very simply, medical transition is when a trans person or a non-binary individual will choose to medically transition via medicine. Usually this encompasses hormone replacement therapy and or surgery. I would like to make it a point to everyone, disclaimer, not every trans / non-binary, non-conforming person chooses to medically transition, okay? Some people don't want to do it, some people can't afford it, and some people are not able to physically do it because there is something with their body that does not allow them, like they have a medical condition and they're not able to transition medically. So keep in mind that no matter where the trans person is in their life, in their type of transition that they're doing, they are still valid as trans people. Not everyone can or wants to go on hormones, and not everyone can and wants to have different type of surgeries. I have known people personally who have gotten surgery on top and who have never been on hormones, and that's how they like it and that's how they want to keep it. I know other people who have been on hormones for years but never want to have surgery. And I also know people who have gone through hormone replacement therapy, have had top surgery, have had a hysterectomy, and have had bottom surgery. Everyone is on this spectrum, and it's okay to be wherever you are. The trans person that you know, or you as a trans person, non-gender conforming person, gender non-conforming person, non-binary person, etc., is still valid. You are still 100% valid as trans. And I am trying to really disclaimer this and put out this a lot. Explain this a lot and really reiterate this, because this is a huge problem in this community where a lot, and outside, where a lot of family members will never take the person that they know, their trans child, their partner, their sibling, their coworker, they won't take them seriously unless they medically transition. This is very, very, very problematic discourse that we have in this society that needs to be switched around. So when people start to understand that you don't need to medically transition in order to be trans, we will all live a better life. Now, most people medically transition, especially go on a hormone replacement therapy because they would like to pass better. The concept of passing, can be somewhat problematic because it implies that you need to pass as the gender that you are in order to be that gender. Even if you don't pass, you are that gender. But it brings more legitimacy to your transition. And I am saying that in the biggest quotation marks that have ever existed, because the legitimacy of your transition is how you define your transition. So people usually go on hormones in order to pass. I personally went on hormones because I felt like the body that I had on the outside did not match who I was on the inside, and I wanted my outside to finally reflect my inside. So I went on hormones. I finally got facial hair, my voice got deeper, my body started changing, I got more body hair, and I felt way more comfortable with myself. This is the same reason why I also had top surgery. I always had dysphoria with my top area, and I always wanted to have surgery. I binded for years, and I suffered, and I had issues with breathing, and the day I got surgery, it was like my life finally started. So yes, I have chosen to medically transition in order to alleviate my dysphoria. Some people choose not to medically transition because they don't need to relieve their dysphoria with medical intervention. They either can do a social transition, which will be talked about in a later episode, or they can just do a legal transition, which will also be talked about in a later episode. Now, I know what I'm talking about. It's beautiful and we should all respect each other. There is one thing that we need to talk about that is very important. There are some places in the world, there are some states, there are some countries in the world, some type of government that require a trans person to have medical intervention in order for them to change their legal documents. And by legal documents, I mean getting your name changed or getting your gender marker changed. So if your gender on your papers, on your birth certificate says female and you identify as male and you would like it to say male, some places in the world and some states in America will require you to have some type of surgery in order to change that. Up until recently, this is what had happened in Quebec, which is where I live. You needed to have a hysterectomy in order to change your gender marker. Now, this is ridiculous because not everyone wants a hysterectomy, and this is a big problem in a lot of countries that I have seen in Europe. They're basically forcing trans people to sterilize themselves because you are getting a hysterectomy, you're removing all of those parts. Now, this is a huge problem. And this is something that a lot of people are trying to change. And the reason why I'm making these videos, especially this one here, yes, it's good for trans people to know about this, or people who are questioning and like, oh, I didn't really, or like beginning their transition and didn't really know about this stuff. But I think that this video is really important for people who are allies and friends, family, spouse, etc. of trans people. Because once you understand that, oh, not everyone transitions the same way. Not everyone decides to go on hormones. Not everyone decides to have certain types of surgery. I think that you're able to understand the person that is in your life that is trans, or trans people in general, and understand that everyone is different. Not everyone is the same. There is not one cookie cutter medical transition way to transition. Example, I do not want to have a hysterectomy. That makes me no less trans than somebody who has had a hysterectomy and bottom surgery. 0%. I am still as much trans as the other person because I identify as male, I identify as trans, and this is who I am. Anyways, just wanted to give you a little social stuff in there in that medical transition episode, so hopefully you were able to learn a little bit. The next episode I will talk about social transition, natural transition, and legal transition. Please take a look at those videos, and don't forget to look at the previous videos in this playlist because there's a lot of information geared for family and friends and for a lot of trans people. Thank you for joining me and have a great day. Bye.